The Great Blizzard of 1996, for example.
Oh my god, look at the amount of snow right there, my friends. Look, my friends, I have a question for all of you guys watching this. I know the weather in America is crazy, let's all be honest here. And the winters in certain states are so extreme, but anyone watching, for example, ever saw something similar to this amount of snow? Look, leave me a comment from the state you are watching if you already experienced this, and if you are a bit shy, just leave me a like. But man, this is fascinating. 10 historic US blizzards and winter storms. My friends, this should be a really interesting video. A lot of you guys tell me that specific in certain states the winter can be so extreme and devastating. But before we go into that, let me ask you for one thing. If you can leave a like, thank you so much, is the best way to show support. Now, if you can subscribe, well, in that case, forget about it. You make my day. Have that in consideration. Link for the original video in my description, and let's play it.
Blizzards and winter storms in general are underrated.
Underrated.
Tornadoes and hurricanes, they get all the attention, but massive winter storms, they can be just as dangerous and deadly, if not even more deadly than your more popular, more talked about natural disasters.
Really?
Several blizzards and winter storms.
Okay, great point to start the video, but I have to say this. Look, as a non-American, tornadoes is the thing that fascinates me the most. It's so weird when we see something from the sky hitting the ground, destroying everything around. I got a bit too excited there, but it's a bit magical. If you really think about it, I know most of the time is a really bad thing because it destroys a lot of stuff, but in a weird way, it's quite interesting to see. Let's run this part back and tell me in the comments if you agree. Tornadoes, I don't even know what the hell is that, but it's crazy to watch.
Than your more popular, more talked about natural disasters. Several blizzards and winter storms throughout the past few centuries have had crippling effects on large portions of the United States, stopping traffic, taking out electrical grids, shutting down cities in some cases for weeks. And we're going to be discussing some of the worst of these blizzards and winter storms. In fact, we'll be going over 10 significant winter weather events in today's video.
Honestly, I'm going to predict one because I reacted this a couple of months ago. The Texas blizzard, because I know a lot of people end up losing their lives there. It was quite devastating. And from what I understood at the time, Texas was not prepared for such amount of snow in short period of time. At least that was what I understood.
Keep in mind, it's not all about snow accumulation. I know people love to talk about 50 inches, 60, 80, 100 inches of snow, and we are going to talk about that. But we're also talking about events that featured frigid temperatures, high winds, whiteout conditions, and other wintry things. Anyway, let's get on to the first event on our list, number 10.
Groundhog Day Blizzard 2011. So I would say very recent.
So 2011 was a terrible year for weather as it featured several deadly tornado outbreaks, including the April 27th super outbreak. But 2011 was also a pretty active winter for many. In fact, one particular winter storm turned blizzard claimed 40 lives. I'm of course talking about the Groundhog Day blizzard that occurred from January 31st through February 2nd. This winter storm had quite the impact on a large portion of the United States, including states as far south as Texas and New Mexico, up through Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Illinois. Major cities.
To me this is fascinating in a sense that I never associate blizzards or winter storms with Texas, New Mexico, because in my mind they are super hot states, you know what I mean? But I guess it happens.
Within these states were shut down for days. For example, it's estimated that over 20 inches fell on the city of Chicago and its surrounding suburbs. The highest accumulation of snow was measured in Annatoch, Illinois at 27 inches. On top of the heavy snowfall, there were also wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour.
Well, it's really windy out here this morning, and that's what's making this so treacherous. The blowing snow, the blowing wind. It's nearly a whiteout condition when you hit.
Take a look at this satellite image.
Wow, snow with the wind. My friends, the city I live does not snow. And to be fair, there is certain regions in Portugal that snows, but it's not that crazy. Comparing with America, my friends, it's almost a joke. So I don't have a lot of experience when it comes to snow. I would say almost zero, to be fair. but I know it's something that can be so annoying to deal in the winter, right? Specifically because you guys have to shovel. That seems, honestly, real talk, my friend, that seems a nightmare.
Imagery taken just after the event. The Midwest is kind of looking like the planet of Hoth in this image. By the way, it wasn't just the Midwest that was affected. Portions of New England and Canada were also struck by this blizzard. Connecticut, for example, received 10 inches of snow. Ice accumulation was a major problem for the Northeast, especially in New York and Pennsylvania. Check out this satellite time-lapse of the storm tearing across the United States. Definitely a major storm system. Most of the fatalities were the result of car accidents or heart attacks caused by shoveling snow, although there were a few cases of people who perished due to exposure and hypothermia. In the end, the 2011 Groundhog Day blizzard caused major problems from New Mexico all the way up to Nova Scotia, Canada, and it remains one of the worst winter storms in recent memory. Moving on to number 9.
Damn, number 9. Okay, the number 10 was already so insane, my friends. So the number 9 is the Great Blizzard of 96. Okay.
Next up on the list is another, kind of recent Category 5 blizzard, and that is the Great Blizzard of 1996. This blizzard was caused by a nor'easter slamming into the eastern United States from January 6th through January 10th.
Good evening, I'm Bill Butel. The snow has stopped falling, but it's going to be a very long time indeed before we can forget the power and the fury of the blizzard of 96. New York and New Jersey are still under states of emergency, and we have a lot of information to bring to you tonight.
Now, if you live in New England or the East Coast, you've probably heard the term nor'easter, but many of us, including me, never heard that term growing up because, well, we didn't live in the Northeast. So what is a nor'easter, you might be wondering? Well, a nor'easter is short for northeast. It's not called a nor'easter because they occur frequently in the northeast. The name actually comes from the wind direction. So during these events, the winds are actually coming from the northeast. These high winds are caused by an area of low pressure moving off the east coast. Now, some call nor'easters winter hurricanes because, well, they kind of look like hurricanes, and on rare occasions, they even form an eye. Here's a picture of a nor'easter off the coast of New York in 2018. And you can definitely see the hurricane-like aspects of it. That's because both hurricanes and nor'easters are cyclones, which is a blanket term for numerous types of low-pressure systems. Anyway, the big picture is that they are both crazy weather events and they can be very dangerous and very deadly. The Great Blizzard of 1996, for example.
Oh my god, look at the amount of snow right there, my friends. Look, my friends, I have a question for all of you guys watching this. I know the weather in America is crazy, let's all be honest here, and the winters in certain states are so extreme, but anyone watching, for example, ever saw something similar to this amount of snow? Look, leave me a comment from the state you are watching if you already experienced this, and if you are a bit shy, just leave me a like, but man, this is fascinating.
Caused a staggering 154 fatalities. The most heavily impacted states were Virginia, West Virginia, New Jersey, Connecticut, Maryland, Rhode
So I have a stupid question, honestly. Pay attention, my friends.
The most heavily impacted states were Virginia.
So, for example, this car is almost covered in snow. The car works. I know this may sound weird, probably, but if the water goes into the engine and into the electronic stuff, because the amount of, I don't know, this may destroy the car. Am I saying something crazy?
Virginia, West.
And honestly, I'm realizing another thing. A lot of people tend to say, oh, Americans drive big cars, but a pickup truck probably is a much better car for this situation than just a normal small car, right? It's much better because it's stronger, have more power, maybe can be more stable because of the ice, because of the snow. Would you guys say this is true?
Caused a staggering 154 fatalities. The most heavily impacted states were Virginia, West Virginia, New Jersey, Connecticut, Maryland, Rhode Island, and New York. The max snow accumulation was measured at 48 inches in West Virginia. Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, and Boston all saw up to 30 inches of snow, which essentially paralyzed these cities. Most of the fatalities occurred in Virginia, Maryland, and Pennsylvania. A large amount of deaths came from heart attacks shoveling snow. So,
what? Did I understood this correct? Heart attacks shoveling snow? Wait, is... Again, another stupid question, but is that something to do with your system? Cardiology? I don't even know the word, never mind. But you guys know what I mean, right?
Pennsylvania. A large amount of deaths came from heart attacks shoveling snow. So people don't really realize this, but like, if you're out there in the cold air and you're like in a hurry and you're going to town shoveling snow, you can easily overexert yourself and suffer from a heart attack. So just be sure to be safe. Be sure to get like your son to shovel the driveway. You don't need to be doing that. Go back inside. A very similar.
What? Oh my god, okay. Yeah, see, my friend, this is why I love to react to this type of stuff. I learn stuff every day.
Nor'easter impacted the same area in 2016. In fact, this is the last Category 5 blizzard as of the making of this video.
Number 8, blizzard of 78, okay.
Now, 1978 was a terrible year for winter weather. So was 1977 and so was 1979, but 1978 in particular was pretty bad because it features 2 entries on today's list. The first 1978 blizzard that we are discussing is the February 5th through 7th northeastern US blizzard, aka the Blizzard of...
Is this a highway? Why? Wait, they had to stop the cars and all of...
78. This blizzard was caused by a nor'easter that impacted New England, most heavily impacting the states of Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts. Peak snow accumulation was measured at 28 inches in several communities in Massachusetts, including a record 27 inches measured in the city of Boston. Wind gusts were as strong as 111 miles per hour, making it one of the more powerful windstorm blizzards on today's list. There's almost like a little blizzard hurricane. There was even an observed eye within the cyclone. See that little eye right there? Pretty rare for a nor'easter. So do you remember when Hurricane Harvey sat on Houston and just poured rain on the city for days, causing massive flooding? That kind of happened with this nor'easter. It was a very slow moving storm, and in some areas snow fell for over 30 hours. Typically nor'easters only drop
30 hours of snow non-stop. Okay.
snow for 6 to 10 hours. There were even some moments where there were 5 inches of snow falling per hour. The winter storm was so intense at times that it featured the rare winter phenomena of thunder snow, aka lightning during a snowstorm. See this situation? You do not want to be in this situation. Sometimes if you're in this situation, by the way, snow can pile up so quickly that it blocks your tail exhaust pipe, leading to poisonous gas inside your car. In fact, 14 people...
Jeez. Okay, thank God I don't have snow here, my friends, honestly. See, this type of videos is good for me to be thankful for the weather I have in my country. Look, I love America. I think it's probably the best country in the world. But in terms of weather, I would change a couple of things.
People unfortunately died on Interstate 95 from snow blocking their tailpipes during the blizzard of 78. Parts of Massachusetts were at a complete standstill for over a week. Cars were even banned, so many had to ski around just to get to places or use snowmobiles. In the end, most of the fatalities were from homes caving in, fallen electrical wires, or simply because a person got stuck and disoriented out in the blizzard and died of exposure. Moving on to number 7.
Okay, number 7 is the 67 Chicago blizzard. Actually, I have a question, my friends. This was probably a couple of months ago in a video also about snow in America. Someone told me that, I don't know if this is true, but I end up reading that comment, that Chicago, in terms of big city, is the city in America that deals with the more extreme winter. Big city, not the state, if you know what I mean, but in terms of being a big city, Chicago is probably the worst place you can go in the winter. Is this true?
So the next blizzard on today's list isn't focused on a large area, but it's actually focused on a specific city, and that is the 1967 Chicago blizzard that occurred on January 26th into January 27th in 1967.
Chicago.
The windy city of Chicago is white as well as windy, battered by a furious winter storm which dumped 2 feet of snow across the Midwest. 68 deaths were traced to the blizzard. 10-foot drifts were a common sight after the 29-hour snowfall which brought this giant city to a standstill.
To this day, it is the worst blizzard to have ever impacted the city, with peak snow accumulation of over 20 inches. Now, the snow total might seem low compared to other entries throughout the video, but you gotta remember, this was a full-blown blizzard with whiteout conditions and sustained wind speeds of over 50 miles per hour. The crazy high winds caused massive snow drifts upwards of 20 feet high. It also started in the middle of the day when people were at work or at school, so people got stuck stuck wherever they were. In fact, there were over 50,000 abandoned vehicles throughout the streets of Chicago. Some people
What? Sorry. I have to understand this a bit better.
started in the middle of the day when people were at work or at school. So people got stuck wherever they were. In fact, there were over 50,000 abandoned vehicles throughout the streets of Chicago. Some
50,000. Damn.
people were stuck in their cars for several days and they had to seek shelter in nearby stores. Overall, there were 60 fatalities and it took 3 weeks to plow the streets. Truly a wild event for that city, and it's definitely established itself within Chicago lore with other events such as the Chicago Fire of 1871.
Okay, number 6. See, this is the crazy thing. I mean, a lot of those are in the 70s. Now this is 78, the Great Blizzard. Okay.
So number 6 is the other blizzard from that awful year of 1978, and that is the Great Blizzard of 1978, aka the Cleveland Super Bomb. This storm actually occurred before the other blizzard of that year. It occurred from January 24th to January 29th over the Ohio River Valley and the Great Lakes. The states that were most heavily impacted by the blizzard were Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, Kentucky, and especially Ohio and Michigan, which both saw snow accumulations in the 40-inch plus range. Over 100,000 cars were abandoned throughout Michigan. Overall, 90 people would perish during the Great Blizzard of 78, with 50 deaths occurring in Ohio alone. The frigid temperatures proved to be the deadliest aspect of the winter storm, as 52 deaths were caused by negative 60-degree wind chills. The remaining fatalities were caused by car accidents and, again, heart attacks from shoveling snow. Now, this particular blizzard might not seem as bad as some of the others on today's list, but by the numbers, it's actually one of the most powerful weather events to ever impact the United States, with barometric pressure readings as low as 956 millibars. In fact, this blizzard produced the second lowest atmospheric pressure ever recorded over the continuous United States for a non-tropical storm. And for that reason, it makes today's list. But now we move on to number 5.
I thought that was insane, the amount of people that died. Damn. Now, this is the Great Lakes storm. The Great Lakes are in Michigan, right, my friends? Okay, this was back in the day.
Next up with number 5 is the Great Lakes Storm of 1913. To this day, this event is considered to be the worst natural disaster to ever impact the Great Lakes region, with an estimated death toll of over 250. The initial phases of the storm formed on
150.
November 6th and would last until November 10th. Essentially, this was like a mega winter.
Oh my god, look at this picture. Damn.
Hurricane blizzard on top.
Sorry, I'll run this part back. I'm a bit speechless on this video, my friends. I don't even know how to react to this. Like I said, it's something that I don't have to deal with. So for me, this is quite shocking.
Essentially, this was like a mega winter hurricane blizzard on top of the Great Lakes. Just FYI, natural disasters and being on a boat on water, it's not a good scenario. You don't want to be in that scenario. During this event, a ton of boats were out on the lake because, you know, they were doing trading and shipping and all that stuff that people do. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this winter storm hit and there were whiteout conditions, snow squalls, super high winds creating massive 35-foot waves. It was a recipe for disaster, and a disaster it was. This massive.
And the thing is, back in the day, they did not have the technology to predict this type of stuff ahead, right? Same probably ended up happening with tornadoes. I cannot imagine tornadoes 100 or 200 years ago. Damn, they caught people by surprise all the time. Same for this, but yeah, this is the best thing when it comes to technology for the weather. Is that at least I know it's not all the time, but most of the time we can know. Okay, be ready because this will happen.
The winter storm caused hundreds of shipwrecks. In fact, every single Great Lake reported to have at least one major shipwreck. There's an entire list of shipwrecks from this event on Wikipedia. The ships that saw the highest death toll were the Isaac M. Scott, Charles S. Price, John A. McGean, and the SS Argus.
Totally disappeared? What? What do you mean? Disappeared covered in snow, in ice, or disappeared? Going, through. What?
Isaac M. Scott, Charles S. Price, John A. McGean, and the SS Argus. The sinking of all these ships claimed 28 lives each. Some of these ships weren't even discovered until recently, and some haven't even been discovered to this day. Of course,
What the hell? Oh my. Okay, they really sink. Okay.
These ships weren't even discovered until recently, and some haven't even been discovered to this day. Of course, it wasn't just the lake that saw terrible conditions. There was a lot of damage on land as well. The city of Cleveland, for example, received over 20 inches of snow, taking out all the power and paralyzing the city for over a week. The Great Lakes Storm of 1913 is definitely one of the worst winter storms in recorded history.
The Great Blizzard. Oh my god, this photo. The Great Blizzard of 66. Okay. Honestly, I know I have older people than me that watch my videos in a daily basis, so maybe a couple of you guys even remember some of the blizzards that are appearing here. Talking specific more about the 70s, because you know what I mean. This is something that if you experience, I feel like you never forget, right?
Number 4 is the Great Blizzard of 1966 that occurred on January 27th through January 31st. This was indeed another nor'easter, and it heavily impacted a stretch of states from the central southeast all the way up through Canada, but it mainly impacted the states of Pennsylvania and New York. New York.
Okay, sorry, my friends. This is a bit unrelated with the video, but also related in a weird way. In this time, the 60s, the 70s, pickup trucks are not that common as they are today, because I'm seeing a lot of normal cars, a lot, you know, not. If you see videos nowadays, you see so many pickup trucks, so many SUVs, and I know SUVs is more a recent trend, but back in the day, no pickup trucks at least,
All the way up
or
to
very little comparing with today.
Indeed another nor'easter, and it heavily impacted a stretch of states from the central southeast all the way up through Canada, but it mainly impacted the states of Pennsylvania and New York. New York specifically saw some crazy snow accumulation of over 103 inches. That's an insane number that was caused by both a mixture of lake effect snow and the nor'easter.
See, you cannot tell me this car will work after this, right? I mean, look at
Itself. So you had like a double snow system. Yeah, a lot of snow. Now technically this was only a category 4 blizzard, not a category 5, but it's still one of the deadliest in US history, as it resulted in 201 fatalities. The freezing temperatures were likely the main factor in the high fatality rate for this winter storm. In fact, 40 of the deaths were fire related when people tried sketchy ways to stay warm within their homes. Even in the southern states like Alabama saw record lows in the negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit range. Very cold. Moving on to number 3.
Top 3, my friends. Great Appalachian Storm of 50. Appalachian region is where? Is the Virginias, right? Virginias. Maybe Philadelphia also? No, not Philadelphia is not a state, or it is. No, Philadelphia. Is Philadelphia a state? Let me think about this for a second. I think it is, right? No. Philadelphia is a city in Pennsylvania, right?
Number 3 is the tragic Great Appalachian Storm of 1950 that occurred in the latter half of November in 1950. This storm was widespread, impacting literally almost half of the United States. It impacted 22 states, and this was the very first storm to ever be called the storm of the century. Now, this wasn't just a blizzard, this was a whole system that impacted different states in different ways. The system initially formed off the coast of North Carolina and then traveled up through the Appalachians into the Ohio River Valley and then slowly dissipated over New England into Canada. On the eastern side of the Appalachians, there was heavy rain and extreme wind. In fact, there were some wind gusts that were measured over 160 miles per hour, that's insane. The blizzard portion of the storm mostly occurred on the western side of the Appalachians, in places like Ohio and West Virginia. Peak snow accumulation was measured in Pickens, West Virginia at 57 inches. Similar to the last entry on this list, one of the more significant aspects of this storm were the record low temperatures it brought to the southeast. Places like Jacksonville, Florida dropped
They brought the military for this?
to 20 degrees Fahrenheit, and temperatures in Birmingham dropped all the way down to 5 degrees Fahrenheit. Some have called the Great Appalachian Storm of 1950 the worst to have ever hit the Ohio and Tennessee valleys. It might not be the worst, that's debatable, but it's definitely up there. In the end, there were 383 fatalities, making this winter storm one of the deadliest in recorded history.
Why there is a person inside?
There were also major flooding problems that caused even more fatalities after all the snow melted.
Great Blizzard. Okay, this was back in the day.
Number 2 on today's list is the Great Blizzard of 1888 that occurred from March 11th to March 15th. This blizzard featured peak snow accumulation of 58 inches, and the event resulted in a staggering 400 fatalities. Similar to previous entries on the list, this blizzard mainly impacted the Northeast, including the states of New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. People were stuck in their homes for weeks, and there were sustained winds of 45 miles per hour, creating snow drifts so high that they would cover entire homes. There were even snow drifts that were over 50 feet tall. Like a typical 2-story home is 25 feet. So can you imagine 50 feet? That's wild. It actually started off as a big rainstorm with temperatures around 30 to 40 degrees. However, as the system moved in, temperatures dropped to 8 degrees and the rain quickly turned into snow, and then snow fell for like the next 2 days. Pretty much every community in the Northeast had to stop for days on end. There were no rail lines, the telegraph lines were down, communication was impossible, the New York Stock Exchange closed for 2 days, something that wouldn't occur until Hurricane Sandy in 2012. It was quite the event. A large portion of the death toll came again from ships and boats off the coast that were caught off guard by the high waves and blizzard conditions, leading to them capsizing and eventually sinking. The Great Blizzard of 1888 remains, to this day, the deadliest winter storm in US history.
Okay, 93. Oh, again, looking at all of what we are seeing, this is, I would say, very recently. 93, Storm of the Century. Yeah, this one a lot of people remember 100%.
And finally, number 1 is the 1993 Storm of the Century. This was a massive winter storm system that heavily impacted essentially half of the United States, from Florida and the
Half.
southeast through the Appalachian Mountains, up the east coast into New England and portions of Canada.
Lots of blowing and drifting still with that gusty wind.
We're looking at moderate blowing snow, and the winds are really fierce out here. The wind chills are down. I am really cold out here. And you can see that this is actually one of the smaller drifts. Behind me, 7 and 8 foot drifts.
To get an idea of the scale of this storm, take a look at this satellite imagery. This storm system is literally stretching from south of Mexico all the way up through Canada. Incredible. Peak snow accumulation occurred on Mount LeConte, Tennessee, with measurements up to 56 inches. This also had a low barometric pressure reading of 960 millibars, making it one of the more powerful systems on today's list. Overall, there were 318 fatalities, making it one of the deadliest not only blizzard in the US, but weather events in general in recent memory. People were stranded in the Appalachians, they needed to be rescued via helicopter, roofs had caved in from the thick and heavy snow. On top of all the snow, there was frigid temperatures. Birmingham, Alabama got 13 inches of snow. Birmingham, Alabama, that's like the South. Got 13 inches of snow, which would be crazy. I mean, that's like a bad snowstorm in Minneapolis. That's a crazy amount for Birmingham.
So sure you know just how.
And honestly, the thing that is scary is those states are not they are not ready at all, right, for that amount of snow. Because if this happens, again, like in Montana or Michigan, they know how to deal with this type of stuff. But people in certain regions, they are not able.
How bad this storm is. While Kevin was outside watching the anemometer in the office here, we had a wind gust of 52 miles per hour.
There was even a mini tornado outbreak embedded within a derecho with at least 11 confirmed tornadoes, all of them touching down in the state of Florida. The strongest was an F2 that actually claimed 3 lives. Now, while F2 tornadoes are considered significant, it is rare for them to have that large of a death toll. There's also massive flooding and storm surge in Florida. Some areas on the coast were under 12 feet of water. 47 people in Florida perished due to flooding. So really you have a massive blizzard, a derecho, a tornado outbreak, a storm surge similar to that of a hurricane. No wonder many have called it the perfect storm or the storm of the century. Now this may not have as high of a death toll as, the historic blizzard of 1888, but it's a much more recent event and people were way more prepared. The fact that there was still a high death toll with this event just goes to show how dangerous it was. This is such a major winter event that it's impossible to properly cover it all in this video. It really deserves a video of its own, and I'm pretty sure there's already several YouTube videos about this event, and they're pretty good, so be sure to check those out. Now here's something that's rather intriguing. Some say that this massive weather storm system, storm of the century blizzard tornado outbreak, could have been caused by a volcanic eruption. Yeah, specifically the 1991 eruption of Mount Pinatubo. This is due to volcanic ash and debris triggering a mini volcanic winter. Now, of course, a volcano is definitely not the only factor. There were many factors here at play, but some meteorologists do claim it could have played a pretty big role. Definitely one of the most significant weather events in the past 100 years, one that many will remember for quite some time. Have you ever seen that Stephen King miniseries called Storm of the Century? Whenever I hear about the 1993 Storm of the Century, I always think about that. It's really creepy, but it's kind of good. So there you have it. 10 historic, infamous
Thank you, my
US
friend.
blizzards. Which events did I miss? Which events would you have added? Do you remember any of these historic snowstorms? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching.
Okay, my friends. Wow, this was crazy. Honestly, I'm so yeah. Never mind, my friends. This was so crazy. Okay, let's refocus. Again, if you remember any of those storms, feel free to leave me a comment. And if you don't remember any of them, but you end up dealing with crazy ones, also leave me a comment with the state you are watching, because that way I know, yeah, this state in particular can go super crazy with this type of stuff. But I thought this was quite amazing, my friends. So yeah, do not forget to leave a like. See you guys in the next one. Bye, my friends.